Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about mediator pipeline behavior. I will show you how to implement it, where and when you can use it, and what are potential alternatives to it. Let's dive in. Okay, let's say that we are working with newsletter application and we have a functionality to register a new user. So in the world of mediator, you would have a register user request and you would have a register user request handler. Let's say I want to introduce logging and validation. What I could do, could just put them directly in the handler. So when I create a register user request in a handler, instead of only adding user to the database, I could do a logging, I could do a validation also, and some other things. As you assume, this is not a good approach because you don't have a separation of concerns. If we are using a mediator, here is a potential solution for this problem. We can introduce mediator pipeline behavior. What that means that before and after of register user handler, we can introduce some functionalities. For example, here I want to do a logging and validation before register user handler, and I want to do another logging after the handler execution. In this way, we have a separated concerns between register user handler, which is a business logic, and all other things that we need to introduce in our application. So what is pipeline behavior? So mediator pipeline behavior is like a middleware for mediator requests. It allows you to intercept a request before and after it reaches a handler and enables you to apply cross-cutting concerns such as logging, validation, retry policies, caching, etc. without modifying the handler itself. This keeps you handlers clean and focus on the business logic, while behaviors ensure consistency across all the requests. As I said, we have a newsletter API prepared with only one endpoint, which is register, and we are calling mediator, which is iMediator. As you can see, I have added a mediator package, and here we will pass register user requests, which is a record containing username, email, and password, which implements I request from the mediator. We will send that command to a command handler. For the command handler, we have a basic register user handler with the necessary method implementation, which takes requests and cancellation token. I will simulate user registration calling the DB here, and I will return the result. So whenever I call register method and I create a register user request, that request will be handled by handle method in register user handle class. First of all, I would like to log, for example, this request, and I could do that here directly in the handle method, but this is not a good approach because we don't want to mix up completely different concerns with the business logic. Instead of that, we will create a folder, let's name it behaviors, and let's create for logging, let's create logging behavior. Logging behavior has the request and the response. For logging, let's use the basic iLogger, let's name it logger, and in order to work with mediator pipeline behavior, we need to implement pipeline behavior, the request and the response. We need to implement this interface. Let's see what this handle method do. So you can see that in pipeline behavior there is only one handle method which takes a request. Also it has a request handler delegate, which will be in this case register user handler, and on the end it has cancellation token, and as you can see in summary, it is a pipeline handler, perform any additional behavior and await for the delegate as necessary. So let's go back, and in logging, okay, let's introduce logger and let's name it logger, and let's implement method. So the first thing which is important here is calling the delegate to go further to the process of handling this request, which is register user handler. So it is the same like you're using middlewares for HTTP requests and everything. So this is before handler, and everything after next delegate will be after handler. Of course, you can accept response and you can return response to the further execution. For example, before handler, we can log information to get the name of the request that we are handling. And after handler, we can just say handled the response and the name of that response. Okay, to make it more obvious, I will use console write line hello from the logging behavior first time and hello from the logging behavior second time. In order to make it work, I need to add dependency injection for pipeline behavior. As you can see, I have already added a MediatR support. It's pretty common thing, so I will add type of pipeline behavior, and for the implementation of this pipeline I will add logging behavior. Now I can run application and let's see what will we have as a result. I'm running the application and let's just add a couple of breakpoints. So I will add a breakpoint in the endpoint minimal API. I will add a breakpoint in a register user handler, and I will add a breakpoint before calling the handler and after calling the handler. So I have prepared Postman with the endpoint I will hit, and also all the necessary data for the request into body. If I click send, the first thing I will land to is the endpoint, of course. So we have a command, username, email and password. I will hit the continue, and you can see before the calling a handler, logging behavior has been called, and you can see the name of the T request is a register user request. I hit the continue, then register user handler has been called. I hit continue again, and then after that call I have interception after the handler call. Here you can see the type of my response is string. Hit continue, and I have user the codeman registered successfully. If I open console, you can see that we have hello from the logging behavior first time, hello from the register user handler first time, hello from the logging behavior second time. So we have register user handler in the middle of both logging, which is defined by pipeline behavior. Okay, pretty cool, right? So let's say I want to add validation before my request reaches handler. I could do that directly in logging behavior, but as you can see, this is a behavior for logging. So the good thing about pipeline behaviors in MediatR is that we can have nested ones, so we can chain each one to another one. And for that purpose, I will create another one. Let's call it validation behavior, and let's quickly implement it. So we have a completely same picture. I will check for each one that username, email and password are okay, and if not, I will just throw a new argument accept, and I will call next process in the chain. Okay, let's use console logging here also, so we can say hello from the validation behavior first time. Okay, of course I need to add this one also, the validation behavior. Let's run application again and let's see what we will have. Let's hit send button again. I landed to register endpoint method. The next one will be logging behavior. After logging behavior will be validation behavior. After validation behavior will be register user handler. After that will be logging behavior, but before that it was validation handler, but I didn't put the breakpoint here, so I can show you a console. So we have hello from the logging behavior first time, hello from the validation behavior first time, hello from the register user handler first time. Then after the handler execution, we have hello from the validation behavior second time and hello from the logging behavior second. From those logs, you can see and you probably can figure out that this order is really matter, because if I put validation behavior in the DI before logging behavior and I run application again, you can see that first behavior that is called now is validation, and after that the logging behavior has been called, also register user handler, and again the first thing after handler we have logging behavior, and on the end we have validation behavior, which means that the order of registering those behaviors is really important. So here you have handler, layer before and after that logging behavior, and also layer above that you have validation. So when requests come from here, so the first thing that will be called is validation, then after that logging behavior will be called, after that handler will be called, after the handler handler, it is the opposite order. So the first one is the logging behavior and the next one is the validation behavior. I think it's more clear right now. So where pipeline can be really useful? The first thing that you can imagine is transaction management. So you can open the database transaction before executing the handler, and after the handler you can commit or roll back that transaction. The another one is caching. So before you even enter to handler, you can check do you have that data in cache, and after handler you can put that data in cache. Also retry policy for retry failed operations. You can use it in authorization to check user permissions before entering the business logic at all. So what are the good sides and the bad sides of pipeline behaviors with MediatR? The first good side that you can see that is really obvious is separation of concerns. You can keep your business logic clean and focused. Also, you can layer multiple behavior for multiple purposes. It's like basic middleware in ASP.NET Core. The good side also is that when you create those behaviors, you can use it for multiple handlers without duplicating the code. So what are some cons of this and why you should avoid MediatR? So you have added some complexity, you introducing a new extra layer that might be unnecessary for small applications. Also you can expect a performance overhead. Each layer add additional processing time to complete request. Another thing is that developers new to MediatR may struggle to understand when and how behaviors work. And on the end, it's not always necessary. Some applications might not need cross-cutting concerns managed this way. Simple logging or validation might be easier to handle with decorators, filters, or even middlewares. So when we talk about some alternatives to MediatR pipeline behavior, the one can be decorator pattern if you don't want dependency on MediatR at all, and if you're interested to see how to implement decorator pattern in a similar situation, I have already recorded that video and you can find it somewhere here. So that's it for today. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like. Subscribe for more .NET content. See you in the next video. Dream big.